Hey everyone, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to make this. So let's just jump straight into it. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is we've got a new scene here in Blender. I'm just going to turn on my screencast keys, so then you should be able to see what I'm doing down here. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is press A to select everything. And then if we just press X to delete everything, we'll add stuff back in as we need to. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is press Shift A and add in a mesh and then a UV sphere. I'm going to just leave it at 3216 just at the defaults, and then we can press Shift, we can right click and then shade smooth. Now if we would need it to be smoother sort of later on, we can do that. That's absolutely fine. But this will give us a good base now. Okay, so with this, obviously the sphere, there isn't any modeling. The planet is the planet. So I've just pressed S there, I've scaled it up just slightly, and I'll press Control A and then apply that scale. If we just come up here to get the little plus and just drag out a new window, and then go up here to the shader editor, and then I'm just going to press N to get rid of this panel here because we don't need that. Okay, so let's just create a new material straight off the bat. Let's just call this planet. And then I'm going to go over to material preview just so we can see what we're doing over here. And then I'm going to press File, Save As, and then I'm just going to save this into my tutorial projects folder, which if you join me on Patreon, you'll get access to this folder, and you'll be able to kind of get the files as I've been working on them. They're all there available. Let's call this planet, gas, giant, planet, tutorial, files. And I will call it just gas, giant. Okay, so that's saved, just in case it crashes. We're going to be doing this in EEVEE, so I'm going to flick over to EEVEE over here. For now, I'll leave all these settings like this. We don't need to mess around with them just yet. And then the first thing I want to do with this is I'm going to get rid of the Procedural BSDF because we're already bothered about like the diffuse color. Really, we can add in any other things later on that we need to. So I'm going to get rid of that node, and then I'm going to press Shift A, search, and I'm just going to get a diffuse BSDF shader. I'm going to get this and plug it into the surface. And now, essentially, what's going to happen is we're going to get a color ramp by pressing Shift A and searching for color ramp. I'm going to plug this into here. And now this is going to control the color of our planet. So let's go for a kind of dark blue. I mean, obviously we can tweak this as we need to. And then I'm going to get this color blue. I'm going to hover over the color box here and just press Control C. Click this pin. And then hovering over the white bit, just press Control V and then copy that in there. And then I'm just going to bump up the white so it's in the same shade of blue, but it's a bit lighter. So currently, this is just going to be going through from the midpoint. This BSDF is just outputting the very midpoint of this. What we need to do is we need to drive this value with a lot of noise textures, and that's how we get the waves and all that sort of stuff. So speaking of waves, that's what we're going to do first. We're going to press Shift A and get a wave texture node. And I'm just going to press Shift D and duplicate this up here because we will need 2 of these. And now, obviously, I've got the values already planned out for this. If you can just follow along or just play and get kind of the different values you like. But both of these are going to come out into a color ramp. So we're going to press Shift A and get a color ramp. No, not vertex, color. Shift A, sorry, my microphone is in front of my keyboard and I can't see what I'm typing. Shift D, color ramp, so we need 2 of these as well. I'm just going to make myself a bit more space. Okay, so then I'm going to plug the color from this color ramp, the color output of the wave texture into the color ramp here and do the same to this one. And for both of these color ramps, they're going to be kind of similar. We just want this one sort of towards the middle here. And then same again. Again, we'll tweak these kind of once they're in the color ramp. So then we're going to get a mix node, mix RGB node, and then flick this from mix to multiply, put the color of this one into color 2, color of this one into color 1. And now for these wave textures, we want bands, that's fine. And then we want the axis to be the Z axis, and that's the same on both of them. And then we want them both to be sine waves. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we're going to come to Edit Preferences, come over to Add-ons, and then it's just standard. Make sure you've got the Node Wrangler add-on enabled. That'll let us do some things in a second. So once that's enabled, just click the little checkbox, and then we want to press Control-Shift and then click on the multiply node, and that's going to get us our wave textures here, and you can see what's going on here. So as I said, I've already got these planned out, obviously, because I've done this before. So I'm just going to copy these over. So for the scale, we want to go to -4.6, and then for the distortion, we're going to go to 2.2, and then for detail, we want to go to 16. For detailed scale, we want to do 3.6. For detailed roughness, we're going to go to 0.115, and then for phase offset, we just go to -2.79. And there you go, we've got this kind of weird wobbly kind of gas giant look kind of already. And now for the bottom wave texture, I'm going to go to 2.75 in the scale, 10.64 in the distortion, detail again 16, detail scale is 0.86, leave detailed roughness as it is, and then phase offset we do 1.6. So they're the settings I've used. Feel free to play with them and kind of get the exact look that you want. You can do lots of stuff, and I'll show you at the end how that can be, like how it can affect stuff. But these are the settings I'm going to go ahead with. You can kind of make the banding a bit more faded, a bit sharper with this color ramp, with these two color ramps. You can see what that's doing kind of here. And then that's that multiply node, and we're just going to move on to the next bit now. I'm just going to drag that up here and out of the way. We'll go back to that in a second. Okay, so now we need to multiply this with another noise texture just to get a bit of background noise. So I'm going to press Shift A and search for noise texture. And then I'm going to click on the multiply node, Shift D, drag that over, drop that on. But I'm just going to drop it this color down to color 2, and then bring the factor of this one into color 1 here. And then I'm going to Control Shift click on this multiply node just so we can see what that's doing. For the factor, I'm just going to bump it up a little bit, just so it uses more of this this branch. Then if this was at 0, it'd use all of color 1. If it was at 1, it'd use all of color 2, and in between is kind of a mix of them both. So then this noise texture here, I'm going to drop it over to 4D because that'll let us animate it later if we need to. And then for scale, I'm going to go to -50. Now you can see that it's got this kind of underlying like cloud kind of look. For detail, I'm going to go to 5.3. Roughness, I'm going to leave the same. And then distortion, I'm going to go to 17.6. So you can see it's got this kind of fuzzy, kind of like stormy look now. And then the next bit is if we drag this across, I want to just copy this color ramp here by pressing Shift D and then just drop it onto this line that was going over to this viewer node. And then I want to get another multiply node, so I'm going to press Shift D on this multiply, drag that over, drop it on, drop this down to color 2. And then again, I want another noise texture, so I'm just going to Shift D, select this, drag it over, get the factor into the color, and then I'm going to leave this factor at the exact same at 0.675. And now for the settings of this noise texture, I'm going to go to 12.6. For the detail, I'm going to go to 2. Roughness, again, leaving it the same. In distortion, I'm going to leave it at the same. So now you can see that that's what our planet is looking like at the minute. The reason I put this to 4D is because you get this W input. What this does is it allows you to kind of, it keeps the settings of the noise the same, but it moves the position of the noise. That's how I understand it. So you'll see over here that as we move this, I'm just holding Shift to try and get it slower. You can see that the storms kind of on the planet, they look like they're swirling around and moving. So this is how we're going to animate the clouds and storms kind of swirling around. And then that's pretty much it. So we're going to get this color here from the multiply and plug this into the factor. And then if we can Control Shift click back on the diffuse, you can see that we've got our planet here. Now I'm going to let's mess with some of the colors here then. If I just drag this over and I'm going to press Control Shift A, add in just a final color ramp here, just so we can manipulate this if we need to. Now, for the colors of the color ramp, I'm actually going to drag this over sort of to the middle. I'm going to make this, I'm going to decrease the saturation on this. And then I'm going to add in another point, drag that towards the end, drag that towards the end. And then I'm going to decrease the saturation on this a bit further. So you see that now we've got our planet here, and then we can, using this slider, this is going to control everything that came before it and either put more black in, take the black away, invert it. You do lots of things here. If you want, you can get crazy and then you can add in more colors in this color ramp to change the color completely. If you wanted like a blue and a yellow kind of offset, you can do that. I'm just going to leave it like this. I quite like this color set. I think maybe for the blue, I'm going to make it a bit darker and put a bit more of that blue in just to get that definition in the lines. And then you can kind of see the edges of the sphere here, which I don't like. So I'm just going to press Control 1, and that's just going to add in a subdivision surface modifier. So that's made that a lot smoother. And just press Control S and go to save. So that's got our gas giant. Pretty simple. Now we just need to animate it and just make it look a bit nicer. So with us being an EEVEE, I'm just going to press Control S and save it, and then I'm going to go up to rendered mode. Now, obviously space is black, not gray, so we don't want this gray color in the background. We want that to be completely black. And then over here, I'm just going to set up a camera. So if I press Shift A, mesh, Shift A, camera. I'm going to press 0 on the number pad. That'll go straight into the camera. Then if I press Shift and apostrophe, that lets us fly the camera. You can see our sphere here. What I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to bump that back up just so I can see, frame up the shot. So I press 0 to go back into number pad, Shift and apostrophe. I'm just going to bring this back. Normally with space looks, obviously because everything's really far away, cameras are usually quite a high focal range just to be zoomed into it so you can actually see the planet. So what you might want to do is you could come and bring this camera really far back, like along the x-axis, for example. Go back into our mode here. Just line up the shot. And then with the camera selected, if we come down to the camera tab, we can then increase the focal length, zoom into the planet, and that'll give us that bit more of what that'll do is it'll remove some of the depth of the planet so it fills more of the sort of space. I'm just going to go over to the output tab and just make this square for, say, Instagram, so that'll be 1080 by 1080. Flick back over to the camera, zoom in even further. And now I just want to position this just so it's in the center. If you want to get it directly in the center, there's a couple of things you can do. What I'm actually going to do is with the camera selected, if we press Alt-G and Alt-R, that's just going to get rid of any rotation, any movement we've done. Then we can press G and X just to bring the camera back. And then we can do RY 90 minus, and then RX 90. And now you can see that our camera is directly centered in the planet. Okay, so now with this done here, I'm going to come out of the shader editor because we don't really need that anymore. And then I'm going to flick back over to rendered mode. I'm still in rendered mode. I'm just going to get rid of the background, make it completely black. And then I'm going to Shift A and add in a sun lamp. And this is where you can obviously light your planet. So I want to go for the kind of half lit look. So I'm just going to move the sun lamp back, maybe bring it down so it's on the same plane as the planet, and then just rotate it around just until you get the look that you want to go for. Okay, so the camera's there. What I actually want is I want the light to come from this side just to illuminate that. I'm going to bump up the strength of the light just to really make the planet pop. With the angle setting, we can make it the shadow softer. So here you can see that it's quite a cut off. If we bring up the angle of the sun lamp, you see that it changes the angle over here. You can see that it makes that fade just a bit more subtle. So I'm going to put that at 30. Maybe rotate the light just a little bit more. And then I'm going to rotate it down kind of this way, just so it's hitting the top of our planet there. I'm going to press home on the keyboard. That's just going to fill the window with our current view. And now this is completely black. If you want, what you can do is you could put press Shift A, get in an area light. This would be less realistic. Obviously, there wouldn't be any other light sources apart from the stars. But then you can rotate this round, make it a bit bigger, and just increase the power of this. So you can do something like that. Actually, that doesn't look too bad where it's very subtle. You can just kind of see the edge of the planet there. Over in our render settings, I'm going to put on bloom, and then we can kind of increase the intensity of the bloom just to get just a very subtle edge glow. Actually, that's brightening up the side of that, so I'm going to get rid of this lamp. And then I'm going to increase the value of our sunlight. Just increase the threshold slightly. Again, this is just a lot of tweaking because depending on how big you scaled your planet and where you've placed your lights, that will change kind of what this looks like. So at this point, this is a bit more just experimentation. So I like that kind of glow that it's giving off. Just going to rotate the light just a little bit more to there. So for the animation side of things, with our keyframe set to 1, I'm going to do a couple of animation things. So I'm just going to bring our camera back slightly and then press I and then set in a location for the camera. That'll set a little keyframe down here. And then I'm going to press G and X. And then I'm going to go to the last frame. So this is where you'll set kind of how long you want your animation to be. So if I wanted it to be 10 seconds long at 30 frames a second, we just put in 300 here, drag that to 300. Now with our camera selected and our playhead at 300, we press G and X, just bring our camera forward slightly, just until it's like filled the frame, and then press I and then location. And then if we select both our keyframes, so the orange down here, and then press T and then hit linear, that'll just make it so the camera moves in a very straight kind of manner. There's no like smoothing or speeding up or slowing down of it. So we play that back, just press space, and obviously now it's just zooming in on the planet. So what we want is is a bit of information on the planet to be changing as well. And that's kind of where you go back over to the shader editor, click onto our planet, go back to frame 1. So then we want this W setting here. If we are on frame 1, you can set it to kind of whatever you want. I'll just put it at 1, press I, and then go forward to your last frame. I'm just going to zoom in here just so we can see what's going on easier. And I'm just going to change this very subtly. I'm just holding down Shift while I drag this to drag it a lot slower. And I'm just going to press I again there, and then we'll see how that looks. And again, with these keyframes selected, you just want to press T and then linear. So we go back over. As it zooms in, you can see that this is moving. It might be quite nice to get a bit of subtle movement into the vertical lines as well. And the way I'm going to get the lines to move is if we select one of our textures and then press Ctrl T, this will bring up this texture coordinate node. And then we'll take the vector from this mapping node and plug it into the vector of this wave texture as well. And what you'll see happen here is as we move the location along the Y, it's going to look like it's rotating. What it's actually doing, this is manipulating the UVs. So the UVs are actually just like moving. If you know about UV unwrapping, you'll probably understand that. If not, it doesn't really matter. Again, with the mapping node selected and at frame 1, if we just press I over the Y location and then go to frame 300 and then drag this just slightly. Depends which way you want to go, which way you want the planet to be going. Let's put that to 1 meter. Again, with both of those selected, press T, linear, you'll get something like this, where it looks like the planet is kind of spinning and the storms are moving. And you can do other things here. You can change the rotation of this. This kind of manipulates it in a different way. You could change the rotation on the X to kind of make it move a different way, so it looks like there's a bit more forces. So for that, I'll go to X in, press I, go to frame 300, and then just move that slightly. Press I again, T, linear. Now you'll see that there's a lot more movement on the planet. You can play with these multiply nodes to kind of tweak how you like it. Again, this controls the color. And now, of course, if you want to add some stars in the background, that's quite easy to do in Blender. You can do it procedurally. You can use something like a HDRI if you can find one. But the way I'm going to do it is I'm just going to do it procedurally. So if we press Shift A and add in a Voronoi texture, just zoom in a bit here. And then with this selected, if we press Control T to get a mapping coordinates node. And then we want to take a color ramp and then plug the color from the Voronoi texture into the factor, and then the color from this into the background, just for now. And then we just bump up the strength to 1 just so we can see what we're doing here. And we want this on Euclidean. For the scale, I'm just going to go to 5000 for now. And then I'm going to bring in the black and white, flip these round, bring in the black. And you can see, I mean, we've got kind of a star field there. What you want to do is if you drop this to constant, and then we can bring this over just slightly. And now you can see that we've got some large kind of stars in the background, but obviously in space, there's billions, trillions of stars. But some are bigger than others. So we can change this. So we can change the scale and get our like big map, our big star map, if you were. I'm just going to pump up the strength here just so we can see them kind of glowing. We can change that in a minute. And then for the big stars, I'm just going to press color ramp. Plug this in here. So anywhere that's white, if we click here, we can change the color of these stars now. So you can make them blue, you can make a pink. I might just give the big ones kind of the pink hue. I'm just going to drag this over. And then if we copy these 3 nodes here, so if we shift and select, like drag and select them, press Shift D, bring them down, get the vector of this mapping node, plug it in here, get a mix shader, drop that there. Sorry, not a mix shader. We get a mix RGB node, sorry. Get the color from this color ramp, plug that there, get the color from this one, plug it here, get the color, drag it in. And now we want to fill the star field with just a bit more in the background. So the way we do that is if we drag the black over, that brings more stars in. I'm going to make them smaller. I'm going to drag this to 10,000. Reduce some of these. And then for these ones, maybe I'll make them, hue them just a little bit more blue. And I'm going to pull the saturation out of this just so I just want them very slightly tinted. I don't need them that color. And then what this factor will do here, if it's all the way to the right, it'll show the little stars. If it's all the way to the left, it'll just show this top big stars. You can leave it at 0.5. If you wanted, you could get something like a Musgrave texture, plug the height into the factor, and that'll create a few different sort of patches. It'll like fade between the 2 different patches of the big stars and the large stars. If you don't want them to be completely gone, you can add in a color ramp and then change the black point of it. Just bring this up just ever so slightly to about there. And I'm just going to bring the strength of this background down a bit, maybe to 2. And again, you can add more of these, just keep on mixing them, kind of get a range of colors, a range of sizes, do whatever you need with that. And then that's pretty much it. Now we press space. We've got a star field, we've got the camera moving in, and we've got the kind of movement happening on the surface, which shows the clouds being a bit stormy. So if we just render that, you'll see kind of what we've got here. You might want to mess around this. You might want the camera to be a bit further back out. You might want to have a wide shot. Play with the lighting. You can play with the bloom settings under the render settings. You can play with the bloom, get a bit more of a glow. Just really go to town with it. But yeah, that's everything. That is how to make a gas giant in Blender. If you like this video, a thumbs up would be much appreciated. If you want to see more content from this like this, you can hit the subscribe button below and follow me on social media. Again, all the links are in the bottom. But yeah, that's everything. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one. Bye.